So here's a question for you. How prepared are you and your spouse for retirement? And we don't mean financially, although that's obviously important. My next guest says there are other ways you need to think ahead that could matter just as much. Author and speaker Connie Sokol believes you and your spouse can flourish in the later years, but it will require some talking, some planning, and some moving. Connie is joining me with a conversation that I think is long overdue. It's great to see you. We do spend so much time talking about the financial preparation and the financial needs, which again, so crucial,
Yes.
But you're bringing forward kind of some softer connection points that do matter.
Oh yeah, and this is a big one. I didn't know until I delved into it. I started talking to these different retirees, and divorce at this stage is actually increasing. The U.S. Census Bureau says that, like on average in America, divorce is at 34%. But for this age, what's kind of coined gray divorce, between 55 and 64, it's at 43%. And this is after 30 and 40 years of marriage. So as I'm talking to these people, I'm thinking, what can you do to kind of preempt these problems? And there's one couple that really stood out to me that just has this in hand, Mike and Marlene Lauritsen, and they're dying of embarrassment. I'm spotlighting them. But I want to share their wisdom and their learning curves because it gives a snapshot of what this stage can be like.
Well, I think it is such an important gap, a needful gap. And so to look at legacy couples, like their last name again?
Lauritsen.
The Lauritsens. We're so grateful that they're putting their embarrassment on the shelf for our purposes. But I do think that's so valuable to look at legacy couples who are doing it, who have done it, and say, what can we learn from them?
Yes.
So first, on your preparation list, you want us to talk through goals and plans.
Yes, keep talking, start talking, whatever you need to do. In fact, studies show that in the first 2 years of retirement, depression increases 30 to 40%, and that marital satisfaction is at its all-time lowest. And I'm thinking, are you kidding? It's the golden years. But then you realize the realities. This is financial stressors. You've got newfound freedom. You have difficulties in understanding the expectations, and then you have annoying habits. She leaves the keys in the door. He needs a hearing aid, but he won't get one. Like these realities of getting to know each other. There was one man, his role in his career was as an advisor. So while his wife went to yoga, he reorganized her pantry alphabetically, thinking he's being super helpful. It's not helpful. So so it's talking about these things and then the big chunky topics. So I encourage a what now retirement plan. Keep it simple. Just hit the main topics: finances, health, time, purpose, travel. What does that look like and what does that look like to them? And just start talking. She's so cute. She shares, this is Marlene. She said, we allow for differences of opinion. He didn't like creamed asparagus over toast. Well, I loved it. After serving it for dinner one night, he kindly stated that I didn't need to make that for him. Okay, how would you respond? She said, I picked up on it and we joke about it now. So it's, oh, is that like creamed asparagus for you? Genius. She did a repair attempt and now they used it as a connector instead of a separator. So smart.
Instead of that issue that nags with them every time they sit down to dinner.
And then blows up.
Yeah. Talk to me about this idea of daily expectations. I mean, the goals and the planning, that's kind of high level, that's travel, that's bigger picture.
Big things.
But you say there's a worthy conversation in what's going to happen in the day-to-day too.
Yes, and talking about what that looks like on the daily, and some good questions you can talk about can include, how do you want to split the house chores? Some of the men thought they were going to sit in the lazy boy while the wife did the cooking and the cleaning like usual. That did not work. So it could be you need to clarify that expectation. Another one was, how much alone time and together time do you want on the daily? Some woman said, he follows me around all day and I can't get a moment of peace. And the men felt micromanaged because they have no kids to be micromanaging. And then lastly, what's most energy rich for you and for us? So being able to do a sort of exercise of how much does that matter to you? So they were genius, Marlene and Mike. She said, we would say on a scale from 1 to 10 how important something was to be involved in. So when going to a play was a 10 for me, but it was a 5 for my husband, then he would understand I really wanted to go. But when a dance recital was a 0 for my husband, understandable, and a 10 for me, my husband might stay home from that activity, but happy to have me go. It worked well without emotion being involved. So there was an ability to put it on the chair and say, without emotion, this is this, that is that, go ahead and go.
I'm thinking about, you know, this time in life and also how we're living now. We talk a lot about how we're living longer.
Yes.
But with that comes not just a physical advancement, but that affects your psyche too. Like we are vibrant, we are moving, we are grooving, we are in the activity. And so to put something like retirement on the plate, that would take that daily, I don't want to say negotiation, but conversation on how we're going to find that zip and find that fulfillment with each other and also independently.
Oh, absolutely. And I love how they kept this flow.
Yes.
It wasn't, we have have to make this a big thing. It
Right.
was this just shift a gear as we go.
Let's talk about health.
Yes.
You say keeping things healthy, and there's a few different angles and layers to this, but that's crucial as well.
Yes, when those physical declining limitations come, it's interesting. Some people take it in stride, but others really resist it and actually get stressed about asking for help or having to hire somebody to help out. And therapists across the board said that generally men struggle with this. They get angry at their own limitations, and then they can verbally take it out on their caregiver or their spouse, and that's not helpful. So a good thing that you could do is to make a list of the daily mobility tasks that you both can do, and then make a list of the things that you know you need help with or need to hire out, so that before the thing gets broken, you know you can make a phone call without offending the spouse, that kind of a thing. So that's a very important part of that to discuss.
This just takes thoughtfulness, doesn't it? It takes a purpose-driven thoughtfulness. Otherwise, the days just come and the days just go, and those negative or unhealthy emotions creep in all too easily.
Exactly, and there's not a third buffer. There's not a child or something else or a job to
distraction.
ameliorate it, right? Exactly. And another thing that we've seen that the therapists were talking about is this physical connection. That shifts, and it's so vital that they keep the physical connection going. Living in the same house is not synonymous with physical closeness. And what they found is, we know that as people age, that their sexual intimacy declines, so they have to make more effort for those soft, tender touches of just hugs or holding hands or affection. In fact, one therapist said that people actually suffer from skin deprivation. They're just not touching one another. So that's a really big key for them to be able to have this fulfilling later marriage. And I love this. She just wrapped this up so beautifully. She said, "We enjoy each other. We do retirement together. We've been retired for 11 years, and we do things slower and not so hard. We have learned to adjust. I feel honored to walk hand in hand with him now. We enjoy every day."
There it is.
And I see that. They've taken it and they've just made their adjustments.
Connie, thank you for bringing this conversation and highlighting that wonderful couple. Where can we get more advice from you, friend?
Well, especially if you are looking for phase 2 and you want to flourish in that purpose in this stage, check out ConnieSokol.com. We have retreats and we can teach you all of these things plus more of what to do.
We love you, girl. Thank you so much.